they get that wee soundbite and they're never held accountable for anything and they get to go away. But if you put those people in a podcast and you go, this thing's going to record until we get somewhere, they'll fall apart. So that's the way media should be. Like these little soundbites, I don't watch or listen to the radio or anything like that. I just find it all like propaganda at this point. But no, I think podcast is one of the last beacons of freedom that we fucking have at the moment. We're going now, are we?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I wanted to ask you there, because that you're saying you're in Austria at the moment. Can you tell me a wee bit more about the gist.com? I started listening when you reached out before Christmas there, and I've been listening to your podcast Chatter. And some of the guests you get a lot of, you get a lot of great guests on. What is your method for getting these guys? Because you're getting a lot of people from different walks of life on that show. It's just
blackmail.
Yeah, totally. I have them all compromised. I have this really nice island, and I invite them all down. And no, I literally just I just email them. I mean, I only get about, I don't know, 25-30% of the people that I email. And I tend to try and be ambitious, but know that a lot of them aren't going to reply. I think that the one that I was most shocked was I got Peter Hitchens. Like, I just emailed the Daily Mail being like, any chance you'd put me in touch? And they were like, yeah. And I got a reply from him within like a day. So there isn't really any strategy. I just email them basically and be like, look, would you like to come on and talk about this? And that's basically it. People are generally pretty happy to take a bit of time and chat about something if you're showing interest in what they've been talking about. Yeah. Or I'll like email someone whose book I've read and just be like, yeah, do you want to come on and talk about your book? I enjoyed this part and I'd like to discuss this. So it's there's nothing special. It's literally just me reaching out to people and seeing if they'd be interested. So I can't pretend there's any special method.
Suppose if anything, this is the best time to email people because everybody's at home.
Exactly.
Nobody's getting away from it.
Yeah.
Where did you start your podcast?
About 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago or something. And I kind of did it on and off. And then I figured this year, because I've got my book coming out in February, that it was, with lockdowns and whatnot, the best opportunity to try and start building it up and use it to sell the book, hopefully next month when it comes out. So that's the hope. I mean, I started doing it there's one episode of Joe Rogan that I watched and I was like, holy shit, right? This is what I would like to do for at least some of my life. When I saw the episode with Jordan Peterson and Brett Weinstein, they were having this conversation about like why they thought Hitler was dangerous, but they had two completely different like perspectives on it. Like Jordan Peterson was saying that we shouldn't think that he's an exception, and we should like understand that he might have been an exception, but all the people that went along with him weren't. And Brett Weinstein was talking about like the previous like evolutionary reasons for people having like fear of the outsider based on like I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, when outsiders, when someone from another tribe came along, they could be carrying, ironically right now, disease that like that tribe wasn't like used to, and that could be really dangerous. And he was saying that we need to watch for people like selecting the other, because it's like evolutionarily built into us to have that fear, but that we have now the cognitive ability to overcome it, but that doesn't mean that it's not there and we shouldn't watch out for it. Like I watched that conversation and I was like, nope, I got to start making a podcast. Like if people can have like conversations this intelligent, I want to at least try and host them.
Hold up, right? Okay.
Hang on. Why are we discussing this? Austrian unintelligent boxes?
And then why did you randomly throw a dart on a board and select the Fellaship to have a conversation? I mean, given those high levels of people that you've mentioned, it's like, I mean, come on, this should have been your day one podcast as a warm up for the rest of them.
Well, no, you got to get warmed up before you have the real professionals on.
They're coming in the door next, guys. Don't worry about it.
So how did you guys get started?
I've lost track of it. I keep saying 7 years, but it actually might be a wee bit longer. And not there is a record to look up, but I refuse to look at it. I was working in an office and I discovered podcasts because a lot of downtime working in an office, and I started listening to, it was Ricky Gervais had one at the time, Joe Rogan, of course, and I got into a couple of those, and I find them such a great way to pass time and also expand your mind as well. And you had this option to just really cherry pick what you wanted to learn and what things you wanted to find out. And you could find anything with history and conspiracies, is another favorite topic. And it got to the point where I was like, I would love to do this. I would love to try it, but I couldn't do it on my own. The Kringle is the co-host here, is a brother of mine. So I went to him and says, would you like to start a podcast? And we had no idea, no concept, no one to really mimic. We looked around the Northern Ireland for inspiration to see who else was doing it. The only one we could find really was Colin Gaddis, but he's a comedian and he has got the gift to be able to just talk about anything and make it interesting and funny. So we tried originally to script a podcast where we were like two people mimicking newsreaders in a sense. It came across so unnatural. So we called on another friend, a mutual friend of ours, Dev, who was a long-time member. And we just decided to mimic a show called Tell 'em Steve Dave. I'm not sure if you know that one, the American-based one. And basically their whole show is that they're three best friends who got to get together in a store that some of them work in. And after closing time, they just talk about what's going on in their lives and give their views on pop culture, politics, and just whatever the fuck you would talk about in a bar. That was really the whole idea of it. If you could record a conversation of a few mates in a bar and upload it, that's the kind of vibe we were going for. And then just built it out from there. Recently, one of the original members, decided that he just didn't want to do it no more. He's been doing it for so long. Wanted to take a wee back, he took a bit of a break from it, and then decided he didn't want to do it no more. And then we introduced Jared into the podcast because we always felt like it worked better with three. And Jared's a bit of a creative genius himself. He makes comedy videos and sketches. And
thank you.
He falls in with the vibe that I would like to create on this show. Just a chilled podcast where we talk about our dicks for an hour.
It's a short convo.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that's your plug line whenever you're telling people.
More or less, that's the motto of the show.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I always wanted to be open to, like, I never wanted to have a particular theme. I just wanted to talk about whatever we felt like, instead of going, this is a show about football, or this is a show about whatever, pick a topic, and this is what you're going to tune into every week. It's just like, sometimes we come prepared with stuff that I want to talk about. Other times you just hit record and see where it goes and just let the conversation flow.
I mean, I know that's something that, like, who was it? I think Bill Maher was commenting when he was on Joe Rogan's show. He was like, look, how do you do this? Like, do you have your questions prepared, or like, do you know what you're going to talk about? He's like, no, we just sit down and see what happens. Which is kind of magic in a way. Like, you're letting something happen. And I kind of see podcasts as like this like cool replacement for radio, because I don't know. I mean, I guess if I'm listening to the radio now, it seems to just be like 50% like adverts, music I don't want to hear, and then the occasional like good segment in between things. And like for me, like 5 minutes is not long enough to discuss something cool. Like if you really want someone to explain something, like 5 minutes don't cut it. You need like space in order to like explore different stuff. And like, that's why I think it's such a fantastic medium, and something that like is, I think I saw a tweet this morning that was saying podcasting is what's holding the world together at the minute. And as much as that might be a little arrogant and kind of, I don't know, maybe blowing up the significance of them, I think it does provide a place for people to have like legit, serious, in-depth conversations about stuff, or just like shoot the shit in a bar, like you said. And to be honest, people miss that probably more than ever right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I fully agree, and I don't even think it's, you're not blowing up smoke to anything. Like the way things are at the moment, and continue to go this way. Podcast is the only free form of expression that we have right now. I fear the day if there's ever somehow they can clamp down on that. I don't see how they can do it. But we see it in social media. We see it in the mainstream that voices get silent, but if it's wrong speak. But on podcasts, you're free to talk about whatever you want. And I do love the idea that, like, when you're comparing it to like interviews in like mainstream, they give people such little time to explore whatever they're trying to make. And because they know they've only got 3 or 4 minutes in a segment, they'll either come prepared with a generic, like politicians are known for that. They'll come on with a prepared way of answering, and they get that wee soundbite, and they're never held accountable for anything, and they get to go away. But if you put those people in a podcast and you go, this thing's going to record until we get somewhere, they'll fall apart. So that's the way media should be. Like these little soundbites, I don't watch or listen to the radio or anything like that. I just find it all like propaganda at this point. But no, I think podcast is one of the last beacons of freedom that we fucking have at the moment.
Well, I think podcast versus radio is podcasts are real. Like you say, it's just genuine chat. Where the radio, you'll turn on the radio and it's all this, hi guys, welcome to BBC Radio. It's so fake and phony, and it's a job. It's not where they can relax and be themselves. Where in a podcast, you can just say whatever you want. And
dude, I was listening to QFM the odd. I was going to work and I had no choice but to have the radio on. It was either that or listen to the hum of my car or the rattle of my car. And the two co-hosts on the morning,
better than the radio.
Oh, 100%. The two of them were talking about what they did the night before, and they did nothing, right? But one of them was like, I watched. What's that? That show? The Mask. Behind the Mask, right? And it was a male and female one, and the two of them were giddying over this thing, and I was like, "This." It just felt so fake because they were, and I was eating Maltesers. And I was like, "This is if you were having this conversation, if you started that conversation with one of your mates, they'd tell you, shut the fuck up. That's not interesting. Stop talking about this."
You eating Maltesers? What's like any relevance to do with that story? I was eating Maltesers, listening to the radio. I was fuming, so it was.
No. They were talking about what they were snacking on while watching.
Oh right, sorry. I thought you were eating Maltesers in the car while listening to the radio.
Like a bloody maniac steering with my foot while I'm eating a bag of a sure bag.
I'm surprised your car has a steering wheel.
Oh fuck! Don't even.
The Maltesers thing sounds like the Truman Show. You know, they turn to the camera and give it. It's like try Maltesers Brandon. Next time you're watching TV.
Subliminal advertising everywhere.
That's what the world is like. Just the real life Truman Show now. So it is. Everything's a brand and a gimmick and an ad.
The thing with the media too. I mean, there's been a real backlash towards the media. I think definitely mainstream because during the Vietnam War we heavily relied on the media showing us what the hell was going on and to get out. Where now it's like, I mean, you can see even as these DC rats or any rat during the Black Lives Matter over the last year there, particularly, the journalists and the photographers and video guys, they're all getting attacked at these places, like the not show. But I think it's just, obviously they're only showing you what's happening, but it's whoever they give it to is fucking twisted in such a narrative. It's obviously, these guys are on the front line to report the honest truth, and then they give it to their boss, and then he fucking twisted enough to fit who's favor is paying him, to fit his agenda. And it's just, I mean, I'm like middle ground of like, we need the media more than ever, but it's been fucking poisoned enough now. It's been corrupted enough where the hell do you turn to? And that's maybe where podcasters are stepping in now. To let, as you say, let that conversation develop and get those points out. Because as soon as you listen to the likes of BBC Radio Ulster, if someone rings in with a narrative that doesn't suit or a different opinion, they get cut out and they just say, no, we can't have misinformation on the website or on the radio station.
And they're so good at this. They're so good at this propaganda. Like this year, more than ever, it's just so blatant. Like with the whole COVID and the lockdown situation, whenever they started talking about it back in January, I think, anyone that came out with an alternative view, like professional doctors and scientists coming out and saying alternative whatever was being broadcast, they were automatically tarnished with the conspiracy brush, and you've seen the clampdown on social media where you weren't allowed to share certain videos. There was that documentary, what was it, The Plandemic, Part 1 and Part 2, got totally stripped off the internet, and any account that was sharing it was given a warning or cancelled. It's just
even for us, wasn't that one of the turning points for us a wee bit in terms of the likes of the Patreon? Wasn't there an episode that we did and that was removed from YouTube for even mention the word?
It was a two-hour podcast, and I think there was 30 seconds of well, I'm probably being a bit generous. It was actually a few minutes, but we were just questioning the COVID thing. This was back in the summertime, where like I couldn't understand why the fuck when we're sitting with the blazing sun giving us off vitamin D that we're told to stay in our houses and wear a mask, and I just questioned it, and we got warning the strikes that you do it again, you're out, and I was like, fuck me, man.
I mean, I honestly am shocked. To this point, I have had no flags for anything. I keep thinking every time I do an episode where it gets a little controversial that I'm gonna get like flagged or banned or something. Like I had your guy on a guy on talking about the March on Washington, and I thought that was going to get flagged and it didn't. And then this morning I put up this economics professor from Brazil talking about the Great Reset and Agenda 2030, and I'm just waiting for it to get flagged. But so far, like touch wood, I haven't had anything. But just, you said that podcasts are the last free space. This morning, the Associated Press put out a headline that podcasts are a fantastic hotbed for misinformation. So that's the start of it.
That's the start. And then what do we turn to then? Just carrier pigeons and notes again? Or?
It's underground paper and pen and paper again. Like it's,
I used to think you'd just be like, right, okay, well, you can host your own stuff. And that's probably where it's going to end up. I feel like half the people are going to end up with like a InfoWars style band.video where they can host their own stuff. But even then, like, we got to be careful because like fucking Amazon own like half the web or like the underlying structure of it. So it's becoming increasingly just weird that, like you said, anyone that just questions anything is just like flagged immediately. And then they're all going, no, the conspiracy theorists are crazy. And they're like, well, stop giving them fucking evidence. Like,
Exactly. I mean, I get in the conversations and arguments, and I fall out with friends at times because I don't understand why people don't see how blatant it is. Like the conspiracy, it's jumped the shark at this point. Like conspiracies used to be like, oh, there's lizard people and stuff like that. But now it's just pointing out, which to me is obvious bias and control that's been going on. And I bring it up and it's just like, what are you talking about? The BBC is an institution of truth. And it's like, no, they're the propaganda fucking wing of the government, for Christ's sake, but the people just don't see it. And I get a wee bit disheartened because sometimes I feel like I'm in a bubble where everyone knows what's going on. And then I have conversations with people having the fucking clue. And it's like, the more people know what's going on, the more likely chance that they don't get to the end goal of control. But and you've got, I hate using the term sheep, but it's the only way to fucking call it. Like,
yeah, I mean, the UK, like this is another thing I don't get about this year, right? I just looked this up, right? The public trust in the media is at 28% in the UK, right? Now that's lower than Hong Kong, which is hilarious.
Amazing.
But like I just don't understand why, you said last year, like, the media lie, everyone would have gone, yeah, no, they're total liars. And, oh, they're corrupt and they're only pursuing their own agenda, whatever is good for them. And everyone would have been like, yeah, or most people would have been like, yeah. And this year, I have no idea what's happened, but all of that like mistrust just seems to have totally disappeared, except or maybe just in relation to like COVID things. But it's just like, if you showed anyone like 2 years ago, like a BBC article, and they thought it was a bit sketchy, you go, they've got an agenda. They'd have gone, yeah, no, they probably do. And now if you say, maybe them promoting the vaccines like endlessly, that hasn't been that thoroughly tested, is maybe like they're maybe a little bit compromised, or I don't know, they're just like when the new chief of the BBC gave £400,000 to the Tories, and you go, maybe they're just backing up whatever the government want. And like, is that not still like mainstream opinion now that the media lie? I don't know.
There's too many examples. See, whenever people try to shit on alternative media, actual journalists that do things who go and investigate a story and show sources, that it's been so twisted that you can't trust them, but you can trust the mainstream media that will give you a narrative, provide no sources, and just go, this is what's going on, accept it. And it's like, but there's endless examples of the corruption, the lies that the media tells. I mean, Jesus Christ, the BBC's covered up pedophiles for decades. You know, they've been caught in the act, and people will still say, "Oh, it's a fucking national institution." It's like, no, they're not. It just drives me fucking crazy. It's like there was an article I read yesterday on the Lotus Eaters. Carl Benjamin. I only found out recently that Carl Benjamin actually had a podcast. I thought that he had been disappeared. So I went on the Lotus Eaters, and there was an article that they put out during the week, and it was about this open letter that had been signed by I don't remember it all now, but it was this open letter. There was people, the generals, I think, there were scientists, there was doctors, there was all these people calling for an investigation into China and the propaganda that they have been pushing. The whole lockdown thing came from China. The vaccine, all this been, and they showed evidence for this the whole way through it, and they had sources, and it was proper journalism. And this was an open letter that you could go and read the actual thing. It wasn't hearsay or like an inside source or someone close to, you know, the way the media likes to say it, like someone close to Joe Biden or Donald Trump said that he's shooting people in the Oval Office. You know, like they never give their sources. This was properly vetted. Like this was vetted to a certain point. And I sent it to a couple of people, and without reading it, they were just coming back going, "Well, that's just his opinion." It's like, you fuck. There's no way you bloody read it. This journalist is just talking about this open letter and gives you the open letter so you can read it for yourself. But no one wants to investigate things. They don't want to look into it. They want to take the narrative as it is. Like with this lockdown, I don't really fully know what your position is on it. Like, I mean,
I try to keep my like official thoughts like a little bit secret, because I think it's quite helpful, because then people don't know where I'm coming from. I can just be as adversarial as I want from whatever position. It's quite useful. But I think that the there is, to this point, like there's no real proof that the lockdowns or any of the measures are improving the situation at all. Like the places that have the most stringent measures versus the places that don't, there doesn't really seem to be any correlation between like where has the strictest rules and where has the least deaths. Like I think the Lancet published a big study in the summer about this, and they basically like that there's no country that has this plan, and every other country that's followed this plan has gone well, because there's just the level of stringency and strictness of the measures is not correlating to the number of deaths like per million. So to me, I kind of feel like there's probably a lot more factors that we're just not considering, like public health generally. Like there was vitamin D as well was shown to be like a pretty big indicator of how badly someone was going to suffer from coronavirus. There's like a lot of talk that air quality could be affecting how likely people were to contract any respiratory disease, not just COVID, but like exposure to air pollution like makes your lungs weaker and more susceptible. Germany did way better in the first wave, and a lot of people pointed to the amount of ICU beds they had per million compared to like other parts of Europe that did really badly. And like I feel like there's a lot more involved in where is getting hit worse than just whether they've locked down or whether like only 90% of people are wearing masks, and it's totally those other 10% of people that are all to blame for all of the other deaths. Like that's the funniest one I find. He's like, anytime I'm around in Austria, like they're really big on the masks, like on all public transport, like everyone has them on. Like you see like one person out of every 100, 200 that doesn't. And I just think it's like, are you seriously telling me that these things are so effective that one person that isn't wearing it is the cause for all of these like deaths?
It's like logic has just evaporated in it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to try and make a point. And what angers me even more is that people won't even entertain the question. Won't even go, no, we're following this narrative and that's it. The whole mask issue, like, I mean, there's been plenty of research and articles that have come out explaining how ineffective they actually are, to the point where it's basically pointless in wearing them. But I'm not against it. I'll wear it when I go to out and things like that, just to make people feel better.
But the
when those
mask has become such a joke. It's like you don't even need to be wearing it properly now. All you need to do is wrap it around your ears and
Yeah.
put it over your chin, and they'll still judge you if you don't have one on. They're like, "Put your mask on, will you?" And he's got it down around his throat.
Yeah,
Nobody's even wearing them properly anyway.
The fucking word of the day is hypocrisy. Like, and it's unbelievable how. But
Yeah, I think the other problem with the mask is that, like, people, like the non-reusable surgical masks are meant to be worn for, like, I think 4 hours maximum, and the like more the FFP2 ones that they're pushing in Austria now, they're like tighter and they're like made of some different fabric, and you're meant to only have them on for like 2 hours at a time, and then you're meant to have a 30-minute break just due to the like you getting, I can't remember why the reason was, but I was reading some official advice about it, and like but people who just buying one fucking mask and putting it in their pocket and like
I've had it for the last 6 months.
yeah, it's like that can be fucking healthy for people. Like,
Does my breath smell, or is it just a mask? Is it?
your breath smells like balls.
Yeah. Or are you wearing your mask, Alexa? You got a mankini mask?
Yeah.
The best thing I've seen though was I saw like pictures, and I'm not sure where it was, but it was kids in an orchestra playing like flutes and trumpets and whatnot.
Seen that?
And they had the mask on with like their nose and mouth cut out so they can play. And I was like,
Geniuses. Geniuses. Did I read the other day though that New Zealand had the first musical concert with like no social distancing or anything?
I mean, they had test match rugby like months ago. The Tri Nations, like with stadium full and no masks. I mean, they have it. It's if only we were an island and we could.
I know. Like the say that the NHS is under so much stress, and all it would take is a small bus crash here, and they're under stress because they're so understaffed. There is no beds. This was always going to happen, no matter what happened. You know, COVID or not, any big thing that happened, we were going to struggle because they never gave us the right ingredients to make the right meal.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. And this is
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is every year with the every year with the NHS. But for some reason, this year and this last 12 months, they've only made it out to be as if this is the first time this has ever happened, and it's all because of COVID. It's like, no, there was a meme going around in Memes We Trust. There's a meme going around. I think it was at the Guardian, Kringles. You shared it at one point. It was like headlines for like 5 or 6 years, and they're all the same. NHS is on its knees. You're fucked.
It was the last 10 years, I think. Forget the austerity and the cuts to the tourism plan to the NHS for the last 10 years. Let's just leave it all in COVID, because there's a graph that steadily shows you the number of beds have near been lowered. I can't remember at the top of my head, but it was something like, whatever it is, it's been, I don't know, I'm not going to box the figure, but whatever it was, it just showed you the progression of ICU beds in the UK in general. Right. And I mean, if you're going to cut like a free health service, no wonder it's going to struggle like shit. 10 years of constant cuts, like, you know.
Yeah, they've cut 1,500 beds in Northern Ireland since 2009.
That's mad. And the population keeps growing, and it's like they can't. It's like I say this like almost on a weekly basis. I don't even know why I have to say it, because it's fairly fucking obvious. I am not educated. I'm a moron. I am so stupid, and I can see through all this crap, and it drives me crazy when you have these academics on the panel shows or whatever, and they're trying to explain all this stuff, and I go, you're fucking lying. You're just talking shite, mate.
Oh, I mean, like, it's the most difficult part is to like really tell people that they're lying. Like, for me, the thing I think it is it's like, it's mass fear or hysteria or something. Like people are just scared to death. And it's the same as, like, for me, it's almost become the same as when you get like people like virtue signaling like fuck on really, really left-wing issues, like where someone stands up and be like, we need gender neutral bathrooms, and then someone stands up and says, no, you bigot, we need like separate bathrooms for trans people, and someone stands up and says, no, you're the bigot, we need separate bathrooms for trans people and people who are non-binary and people who are not sure of their category. And like, do you know what I mean? It just goes further and further and further. People like trying to be the most like safe or the most like woke, or like to me it seems like people like just pushing further and further and further from like just looking to be the most extreme version so that they get the most credit.
That's what it is. It's getting that virtual slap on the back. See that whole argument about toilets. I think I could have solved that problem if I was allowed in that argument. I'd have just suggested, guys, has anyone thought about wearing adult nappies just all the time? You know what I mean? Completely solved. No one can tell.
Oh man, you were complaining about importing ideas from China. That's what they did during the training for the Beijing Olympics. They had all the people like in the stadium who were like doing the show. They had them all in nappies because they didn't want to have like bathroom breaks or like have people leave. They just wanted them there for practice.
See, it wouldn't work though if you're out in the nightclub and you pull some chick and you're bringing her home and you're like, hold on, I have to go change my nappy and wipe my ass and I'll be back in a minute, love. Just is your nappy dirty? Do you need to know what to do?
Half a pack of baby wipes later, it's time for the sex. Let's get it on, baby. Oh my god!
This like whole woke generation, when's it going to end? Like you said, just keeps going and going and going. There's always some moaning about something new. Is it the internet's fault?
Oh yeah,
I think it's social media's fault. Like I really do. One of my book, I'm going to do the plug. My book coming out, Brexit, the Establishment, Civil War. Pre-order it now.
On Amazon.
Well, I mean, I did have it. I did have the link for Amazon, but I am now changing to. I just interviewed the head of this website called bookshop.org, and it is like trying to be Amazon but for indie bookstores. So like you can either choose to like order it through like a bookstore that signed up on their site or just from their site generally. And like the bookshops will all get like a cut of it, which is really cool. Actually. So I will be telling people to order it on there. I'm not sure if it's there for pre-order, but it is available on the johnhuntpublishing.com for pre-order. That's the publisher. But like in it, I talked about how problematic like echo chambers are and how problematic like is this idea that like people keep pushing further and further and further in order to be like the most woke or the most extreme version of whatever ideology you have, be that like left-wing people or like pure right-wing like conspiracy theorists like David Icke style, or you know that it just whatever it is about like our psychology. And when you get people in like a closed group, even just like the filter bubbles that happen just because the algorithms and on almost any form of social media, it makes people like just like in their own little group think, and they get more and more content fed to them from that ideology or that like opinion or point of view, and then it like reinforces it, and then it also makes anything outside of that seem so totally insane that you couldn't possibly believe that, like from whatever side it is that you're coming, and it just makes people crazy. And like I think like I'm not sure exactly how we deal with it, but the first step I think is probably ban all political advertising on social media. I think we just have to ban it. Like just flat up, just be like, nope, we don't need it. If you have a social media following, you can say what you want, but well, I mean, not anymore. But but like you should just ban it. Like we banned it on TV. Like we said that we didn't want political ads on TV because like that was too dangerous. Like so, because and that's definitely not as dangerous as being able to micro target whatever adverts you want to like whatever specific portion of the population you want to. So I'd say it's probably social media's fault.
100%. You seen that Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix?
Yeah.
I heard this conspiracy somewhere. I can't remember because I'm getting inundated with conspiracies on it all the time. But they were saying like the way that the CIA created the internet with the idea of at some point they would, I guess it's fucking crazy, that social media would be invented and they would be able to single out a certain portion of the population that they wanted to control. Because that's what conspiracies do. They connect the dots, and then when you take on board what has happened in the last 10 or 12 days, whenever the mass censorship started and continues to go on, it's like, oh fuck, it totally makes sense. I know it's not like, but that whole censorship that's been going on recently is so unbelievable. I cannot get over that more people aren't shocked that Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of them, everything other than OnlyFans banned the president of the United States. That's China tactics. That's crazy. Like,
I mean, he's not the first. like WikiLeaks got like fucked over by a lot of social media platforms. Alex Jones for like, I mean, they were waiting for years to shut him down, but like they just needed that one thing, and the Sandy Hook thing would give them that reason. But like I was talking to this guy Brian Frydenborg, was it yesterday? 2 days ago. And he is very pro impeachment. He's fine with Trump being banned from Twitter and whatnot. And like, I get the point he's trying to make, but I tried to say to him, he was like, look, you might agree with it this time. Like, this might be fine. You might be okay with like this person getting banned because you don't like them or you think they're dangerous or whatever. But like, what happens when that's something that you believe in? Like it's the principle that 6 billionaires in Silicon Valley, some of the richest people in the fucking world, can tell us what we are allowed to see and hear. And he was like, no, man, I totally agree with you in principle, but Trump. And then I was like, no, but that's not the point. Like, yeah.
Orange man bad. Yeah, it's such short-sightedness that people can't see. It's like what happened closer to home whenever Count Dankula, when that was all kicking off. I don't know if you followed that, but I would talk to people and go, you know, they're not just getting rid of this guy on social media. He can't get a job. He can't do that. They go, well, good, because he's a Nazi. No, he's not. He made a joke. It mightn't have landed it for you, but he's not a Nazi. Like, and people were fine with that. And it was like, no, this is the slippery slope. This is what they go for him over this and justify and get enough of you guys agreeing with it. And then down the line, it'll come for something that you said. And it happens all the time. That's saying the left eat their own isn't just a fucking slogan on a t-shirt. It's true. Like,
the social media side of things, it's like, fair enough. Twitter is within their full, as far as I know, legal right to ban Trump, right? Fair enough. Just let that go. That's grand, right? But then if you're going down the road of like, right, we need to stop this, which I don't think he should have been banned at all from anything. I don't think he was inciting violence. But if you go down the road, like, right, it's a private company. How do we take that control away from private companies? Then you have to kind of push that more into government-ran social media. And then isn't that kind of getting more towards the likes of China and North Korea in terms of I know it's weird. It's like we disagree with Twitter, but they take that right away from them as being like a private company, being able to ban or block whoever they want. We have to give the control to somebody. So then I think the next stage is it the government's going to step in? They'd be like, we'll save it, we'll keep it as an open platform, and then that's the fucking dangerous side of it, isn't it? If the government gets control of social media.
Yeah, because
maybe they could already be in control of social media. We don't know that shit. Like,
I think they are.
I mean, you know what I discovered like a few days ago. I was doing research for my second book. Is that this is awesome, right? So the 77th Brigade of the British Army is their PSYOPs, propaganda, and cyber warfare division. And one of their active soldiers or active members is also a senior executive at Twitter. He's the head of editorial for the Middle East and North Africa. So like, there's a little bit of like intertwining of government and like social media firms there. And then they all get paid or not paid, but like they have like agreements with like MI5 and the NSA that the Guardian actually revealed like 7 years ago under this program called PRISM, that the NSA had access to like, oh, I wish I had the notes here. They had access to basically almost everything that you do on social media. The NSA could check out, and like, so there is like total entwining of both government and private companies. But I think the best thing here is not to like let the government come in and buy it up or regulate it or whatnot. I think like we legit have to have probably quite an in-depth discussion at like a national level about like how we class these platforms and like probably even more so an important thing is like figuring out to give us some sort of like digital rights charter that in the same way that America has their Bill of Rights in the Constitution, and like figure out like what can private companies give to us and take away online. And what because like obviously you don't want some guy going on like Twitter and just being like, yep, let's all meet and burn down all the public buildings in Britain. And you know, that's the only way we can fight back against the Tories. We just got to go on and we got to hang them, we got to behead them. They're all liars. None of them are telling the truth ever. And like there is like a level of stuff that's probably dangerous for people to have a platform to say, but we need to like figure out how we define that before we just like hand over. Because right now, like there's loads of people breaking the rules, and loads of people way more dangerous than Trump on Twitter. Like, why does anyone in the Chinese Communist Party, the genocidal fucking cunts, have a Twitter account and Donald Trump can't?
Because Orange Man is bad.
That's all it is. It's this effort to paint this guy as like he really shook things up when he went in there. They have never forgiven him for that. It's been a when he calls it a witch hunt and people roll their eyes at it. That's exactly what it has been for 4 years. They have done everything in their power to destroy him, and it makes people like me. Like I'm not political at all, really. It's just trying to find content to talk about in the podcast led me down to paying attention to it a wee bit more. But like I wouldn't class myself, I wouldn't give myself a label anyway, because I hate when people do that. They call themselves socialists or Democrat. I hate when people do stuff like that, because it's like now you're married to whatever that party does, and if they do something you don't like. So anyway, the point I'm getting to is like the point I fucking lost my point now. Oh shit!
You're not political. You're not political. You have
I sidetracked myself.
Yeah.
But so what I find is like I certainly growing up, I would have the little what I known about American politics, I wouldn't have called myself a Republican, and if given the choice, I would always say I was a Democrat, because I left leaning on most things. But the way they have gone after him so much has forced me to defend them at all times. I'm just like, you people are fucking crazy. He is not the boogeyman you make him out to be. He might be a fucking asshole, but that's about the majority of it. Like, his morals might line up with you, but he is not this reincarnation of Hitler, like that they've been trying to claim. And I think it's got to the point where they're so desperate. They were so desperate to get him to trip over himself that they just goes, look, we have to do it. We have to ban him. What are you going to ban him for? Putting up a video calling for peace. That'll do. That's just he's not going to behead a baby on camera, so we gotta do it. We still have to do it. It's fucking crazy, man.
I mean, like, that's honestly what's become the craziest part of like this year, right? Is that like generally, if you do one of those political compass tests, I don't know, then you get the square, and it's like libertarian versus authoritarian, and like left wing versus right wing. Mm-hmm. And if I do any of those tests, I am like further left than most people you will ever meet. And I find myself having to agree and defend the comments of like these extreme right wingers this year. Like when the DUP were saying, no, we can't lock down any further, it's bad for the economy, right? Yeah. And I was going, I hate these people. I literally hate these people. Like they are corrupt. They are unbelievably incompetent. I think most of them are just a bit fucking stupid. And yet I am having to like defend Sammy Wilson. Like, dude.
We've all been there.
I did say it. One day I was retweeting Jimmy Bryson. Why am I agreeing with this guy? I'm like, am I morphing into a Protestant? What's going on?
Marty morphing Protestant.
It's so like it's so bizarre. I have conversations. I find myself I've never voted for green or orange in this country. I've always been against that kind of thing. But I was like, I have found myself agreeing more with the DUP than I've ever agreed with Sinn Féin. And just given my background, I should be, by default, a Sinn Féiner. Like, but it's like, no, they're making more sense. When someone in the DUP party before this new lockdown, number 3, the call for evidence, just give us some evidence to justify why we're going on the lockdown. And I was like, that's all they're asking for. Why are they getting shit on the internet? They're only asking for evidence because you're not allowed to question anything.
Yeah, I mean, like Sinn. I used to think that Sinn Féin weren't as bad as the DUP. That was like my my thoughts when, like, I don't know, way back in the past in 2019, and except Michelle O'Neill for me is just utterly destroyed my chance that I would ever even like consider that they're not as bad as the DUP anymore. That fucking funeral, like I am still furious. Like my one of my best friends is like just apoplectic with rage to this day about that. Like they made all these ridiculous like stringent rules because we believed and they believed at the time we had to do this, right? We didn't know what the score was. and like people were scared and they went, no, right, okay, we're gonna have to do this for now. We'll see what happens, but like let's just lock down. And she went to the fucking funeral. They had they put it out on social media, did all these selfies of everyone standing right beside each other while other people weren't allowed to visit their fucking dying relatives in hospital. And then she had the gall to stand up in front of Stormont and be like, I followed the rules. And it was just like, oh my God, fuck you. Like, he's like, you know what? Then I will just say, if you can just do that and say you followed the rules, then I'll just tell everyone, yeah, well, I'll just have a barbecue with 50 people and say, no, we followed the rules.
Yeah,
the fuck, I'm sure you are seeing these videos that are going viral all the time of police being super heavy-handed, arresting people walking in a park and all. Yet these leaders, these so-called leaders, can get away with doing. There's countless exposing of the hypocrisy in leadership. And if it was any other time in history, there would be an uprising. But we've been so nerfed. We're so used to our home comforts having Netflix. We get outraged. We might tweet about it. We might complain about it on a podcast. But now we're going, I'm going to go watch Cobra Kai because I can't be fucked. You know? While these bastards can get away. That's why they're so confident and how blatant they are with their hypocrisy, because they know no one will do anything about it.
Once your bike Cummins got away with it, that was it. It was just like, right, that's it. There's no rules anymore.
Yeah.
Well, there is rules. It's different for us than it is for the women's, like, but it was just like that's the government's not accountable anymore. They'll do what they want.
Yeah. Who was it? Piers Morgan was in fucking Antigua over Christmas while he's sitting on fucking Good Morning Britain lecturing the government about how the rules need to be stricter.
I know, and like throwing my toys out of the pram. Whenever I seen that, I'm not following him no more. But then the video of him calling out Matt Hancock.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was lovely.
Like, I'm back on the Morgan boat again.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a contrarian piece of shit. Which, you know, sometimes you need people like that, like, because he does do the things like the Matt Hancock video, like that was. But honestly, like I was talking about this with someone as well. It's like, you see that video, that interview alone, 10 years ago, resigned or fired, done. Like Matt Hancock is gone. Like there's no way you can credibly remain as a government minister 10 years ago after that interview. Now I've mostly forgotten about it.
Yeah, he probably they don't resign, they get moved sideways or up, you know, there's no going down.
Yeah, there's no line to cross anymore. It's like that line's been taken away.
It's like retarded chess.
Yeah.
Mark at that.
It's your move.
Tell me about this. Tell me about your book.
So yeah, it's called the Establishment Civil War, and I basically started writing it because it dawned on me that I read a lot of books on Brexit, and then even more when I started writing the book, but that there was no like major book or mainstream coverage apart from Carol Cadwallader in The Guardian, The Observer, talking about like the dark money involved in the Brexit vote, talking about the power of social media to like manipulate parts of the population. And there was no one discussing the fact that regardless of what any of the people that voted for Brexit might want, like that's not going to happen. Like what's going to happen is we're going to get like the worst, like race to the bottom, free market style of shit that you can possibly imagine. Like any protections that people had is going to be cut in favor of like, you know, freedom and like free trade and like, you know, we're going to be importing like chlorinated chicken and hormone fed beef from America and probably selling off parts of the NHS, if not the whole thing. They're going to like all of our products are going to be coming not from like British farms or Northern Irish farms like they claimed was the goal. It's going to be like shipped in from like Vietnam and like Australia or like the furthest like most far-flung parts of the world, and like that's what's coming. Like that's and like we're all just sat here like trying to dodge the falling rocks while the two fucking giants of the establishment fight it out. And like what the people wanted from Brexit was they thought, you know, we have like in their mind, like immigration was too high and Britain had some of the highest levels of immigration in the whole of Europe, whilst remaining the most tolerant country of immigrants in Europe. Like I find like that I find kind of shocking to discover. Like Britain is the most tolerant of immigrants in the whole of Europe. And yet like that, like we're not gonna like try and like reduce the numbers of people coming into the country. If anything, it's gonna go the other way, because we're just gonna continue to ship in like the people who will do jobs for the least money. And it's not gonna be about like rebuilding Britain, or like any of the like rhetoric they used and the things that people actually voted for and like supported, even if it was just like empty rhetoric. Like that's what people wanted. They wanted to be able to support like the businesses in Britain or in Northern Ireland or in England. They wanted to like use British stuff, you know, like whether you think that's a good idea or not is another thing. But like that was the idea behind a lot of like the nationalism that kind of like drove the rhetoric. And that is not what is gonna happen at all. Like we're gonna have this horrendous free market race to the bottom style of Brexit over the next 3-4 years, and we're all gonna suffer, unfortunately.
So the book is a nice uplifting story that you can read to your children at night.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my.
Yeah. No,
what do you? Where's anybody got any hope left? I mean,
the thing that like gives me a tiny bit of hope, and it's going to sound a little weird. I went to one of the anti-lockdown demonstrations here a couple of weeks ago, and it was only in Innsbruck, and there wasn't that many people. It wasn't like the size of the one that was in Vienna like 2 days ago. There was like 50,000 people there, but here in Innsbruck there was, I don't know, maybe like I reckoned about 2,000 people, and it wasn't anything. It wasn't going to bring anything. But what gave me a tiny bit of hope was that it's just normal people. It's not a whole bunch of like fucking like
psychopaths.
Yeah, psychopaths. It's not like anarchists who just want to tear down the system. It's just a whole bunch of normal people who want their life back. And for me, I feel like it might still take a while, but at least it's starting, I think, to turn, where people are realizing that like their lives are gone. And the economic damage that's going to come from this is so huge. Like, I'm so terrified. I don't know, like in school when I was doing history, we had it drummed into us like 10 times a year, like Weimar Germany, hyperinflation, then you got Hitler. Like it's like economic crash, then you got Hitler. Economic crash, then you got Hitler. Watch out for this. Watch out for this. Don't let the extremists come in because of like economic hardship. Like, please, like warning signs, like just teaching us like how to avoid like authoritarians. And we are literally watching it happen. But I'm hoping it's nice to see like normal people suddenly starting to realize this. And that gives me a little bit of hope.
So it's a very thin fucking string to hang on to, isn't it?
So we're just waiting on Hitler to show up then?
Yeah, but like really, like I'm so concerned because like people's businesses are going, like people are going broke, and like what did Hitler offer people? Bread and work. Like that's what he offered people. And there's this other really weird like thing that happens where, depending on like where a country sits along the equator, and like how likely or how prevalent like in diseases like malaria or like infectious diseases that only exist in like hotter, more tropical countries, like the more likely a country is to have those kind of diseases there, the more likely they are to elect like right-wing authoritarians. And like that's really concerning in the middle of a pandemic, because I'm not sure what the exact like psychological thing is. It could be something to do with like I remember Jordan Peterson talked a lot about how Hitler was incredibly obsessed with germs and like order and everything being clean and perfect and in its place. And it could be something like to do with like, I don't know, fear of disease that like pushes people like a little further to the right. So I'm just watching like all of the factors that led to the worst dictators that like we know in history, like just line up. And then I'm going, should we be more concerned about this?
I don't know. I mean, there was all them headlines there in 2019, I think. I can't remember what year it is anymore, but all the concerns about the uprising of right-leaning leadership across the world, you know, running for elections and positions of power. And it was always the same sort of thing, you know, the far right is growing, but no one ever, all those people writing those articles never really asked why or investigate why is it leading to this? Could it possibly be that the opposite side has been fucking people for too long? You know, it's they've had enough, and it's not because they're far right. They're just they've run out of options, and this is probably the only thing that they feel can save them. I
Mm.
mean, that's the reason. It's kind of the argument for the populist rising of Donald Trump. It was just that the left fucked everybody for so long. It was just like, we have to vote for the orange man off the TV because the rest of us are useless cunts.
Mm. I mean, the one thing I do like to point out for people as well is that it is the left-right divide is not the thing that's breaking us. It's not that the right have screwed people over, the left have screwed people, the establishment have screwed people over. And you see the same kind of left and right wing populist uprisings. They all say that the right wings or the right wingers are the most dangerous ones, but you have populist people on both sides. Look, Jeremy Corbyn got 40% of the vote in Britain. Bernie Sanders got screwed twice, but was almost the nominee twice for the Democratic Party. And you just got to look at both. There's populist uprisings coming from both sides, and I think it's because people are just becoming if you're legit anti-establishment, people will fucking vote for you. It does not matter what you do or what you say. If you are fuck the establishment, they're just going to be okay. And that's kind of where I'm at as well.
That's where I'm at. That's why I like Trump, because he was the only one that I have seen in my lifetime that was like that.
I mean,
no, you're right. It isn't. Those people, this whole divide and conquer thing. I fall into the trap of focusing on labels and left versus right, and the people that are at the top pulling the strings, they don't have an ideology. They just love making fucking money and watching us suffer. Sucking. That is why I went to B&M's and bought a knife. Ready for it.
You're gonna go all Michael Stone on the NI executive.
Yeah, doing 10 push-ups a day to prepare myself for this war. Never gonna be.
Man. My best friend and I have been talking about what is our escape plan, what is our plan for when society collapses, and we're talking about it as if it's not inevitable but quite a strong possibility. And then after 30 minutes of discussing where we think might be safe, rural Finland or Brazil, somewhere near the Amazon, and we're always we just, what the fuck is going on when this is a serious conversation?
I know. I don't know if you have any children. You don't have any children, Josh, do you? Have you got kids?
No.
I have two young ones under age of 10, and this whole lockdown thing, we've tried to keep the fear out of the household, or at least away from them guys. We try and play it all off as normal. Of course, they have questions and wondering why school hasn't been open for fucking nearly a year, and why they can't go and hang around with their friends whenever they want to, or go to each other's houses. And it's at times it just feels like I'm just lying to them while I'm looking out the window and the whole fucking world is on fire. And it's how long can I keep the charade up that the apocalypse is approaching, but there's cotton candy on the inside, because it's just that actually, in all seriousness, that does keep me awake at night, worrying about it. I know what's going on, I can see it every day, and I don't see any stop to it. And someday they're going to have to face the reality of it. It's going to be so. There's no way to hide it from them anymore.
I keep thinking of a Dumb and Dumber. The parrot's head has fell off, and we're just trying to fucking salty it back on.
Pretty bird. Are you saying I should blind my kids so they don't see the end of the world?
It's we're doing a weekend at Bernie's with society. It's dead.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that keeps scaring me as well is you see if you made a checklist for the 1984, or Fahrenheit 451, all of the things that happened in those books, or in you look at all the things that happened in communist Russia or under Hitler, and you just go, right, changing the definitions of words, government entwined with the companies that promote your speech, government literally paying £35 million to all of the mainstream outlets in Britain to print the same fucking headline. Then you got censorship, police roaming the streets, arresting people for arbitrary things like hugging, or there was some person I saw in the metro was told off by a COVID officer for breathing too heavily whilst jogging. You just line up all of the things that you would say is probably a bad sign for the future of society, and it's just all happening all now. It's so crazy. I don't know how I would do it. Do your kids have to wear a mask in school, or if they?
It hasn't got to that point.
Secondary school has.
Has it?
Yeah, Lismore and secondary school, they have to wear their mask in between classes, like going down corridors and things, but primary school kids, no. So what's that age, 11 and under?
Yeah.
I mean, like they don't even consider the negative effects of wearing a mask for that length of time. I mean, I hated that meme that still gets propped up every now and again for people to argue, going, well, look, there's the doctors and nurses, they wear them all the time. They wear them in surgery. Have you ever been to a hospital? You're not walking in and the receptionist has got a mask around their face, but we're expecting our kids to wear them for a 6 hour or whatever, how long school's on for, 6-7 hours
Just
days.
give everybody the false sense of security. And
That's what
everybody's
it was.
latched onto that now, and they're like, I need this mask to protect me from everything.
It was to give everybody a fake hero badge and make you feel like you're contributing to the end. But is there an end? I don't see it anywhere. They keep talking about this. Sorry, Kringles.
I was going to say, surely in Asian countries, there probably namely is China and Japan. I mean, part of their culture is to wear a mask.
If you're sick, it's more of a politeness rather than a germ thing. I mean, but it's just COVID ran through that country like any other country. And that was the country that started off wearing masks in general. So what the fuck are we wearing them for? We've had from Asia right across Europe to your front door to be like, lockdowns don't work, masks don't really work. What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
China's fully open.
Go against each other.
China's fully open now with no vaccine.
Says who?
Oh yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I was talking to a mate about this the other day. I says, have you seen the footage coming out of China? I completely forgot myself. I said, do you see the footage coming out of China where they're having raves and there's no masks and there's no vaccine?
raves. Chinese people don't rave.
and then I caught myself going, they also China put out footage of welding people in their doors and spraying the streets and all. I go, so it's either one of two things are true. It's either China fully recovered and I got through it without a vaccine, or it's all propaganda and they're standing on a mountain of bodies. One or the other, like,
Maybe China's not even a real country, but
yeah, like Australia.
yeah.
Oh, it's not Finland. Finland doesn't exist. Isn't that the one?
Oh, that's a conspiracy. Yeah.
Finland,
Unbelievable.
But no,
I don't know.
Yeah, people are like, but China said they dealt with it with the lockdowns, and I'm like, because China have such a history of being honest.
Yeah.
Nice guys.
No, yet that's the example that the rest of the world followed whenever they were giving out the advice to go on lockdowns will work, which was parroted by the World Health Organization. All that information came from China, and we're like, we never trusted them before, but let's trust them on this. We'll just do exactly what they say. I fully believe that they have infiltrated almost every major form of power in the Western world, and it's just people are
Operation Belt and Road, man.
Yeah,
but there was that leak that came out like last month that said that they've infiltrated thousands of major companies all around the world.
Mm-hmm. Companies, politicians, colleges, university professors and stuff, and what
was the guy in America, Eric Swalwell, that was sleeping with the Chinese spy, and he was in the House Intelligence Committee, and they've put him back on.
Still there?
He's put him back on the I think it's the Intelligence Oversight Committee or something like that. They're like they found he was sleeping with a Chinese spy at one point, and they're still just like, yeah, no problem, man. You have access to all that classified info, no problem. Like,
actual hard evidence of it.
Yeah.
And they put him in power. They move him up, like they just moved him back up. He's a part of the Biden administration, and for 4 years, Trump was apparently a spy for Russia in the 80s or some shit with no evidence, but we have evidence of this Chinese spy. It's like, ignore that, cover that up quickly.
He just must be a really nice guy, though.
He must be.
Yeah, I heard he's cool as fuck. Like he's
no matter what you do, they're like, but he's cool though.
Got a real cool moustache and all.
Well, I mean, I heard his Asian cooking is really good, so.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so.
Gets a pass, so he does.
Like even when COVID first started, do you remember all them videos came out of China of people dropping dead in the street, and that struck the fear into everybody, like
mass graves and everything. But
and why have we not seen that anywhere else? That's
I mean, like the people dropping dead thing. I don't know if that's true. Like that those were real, but like the load. There was loads of reports of like mass graves and stuff, and of like funeral homes like buying like way more caskets or shit than they normally would need, and like, to be honest, it doesn't seem that insane that like a population of like just like poverty stricken, like malnourished factory workers that like especially you get like the Foxconn shit where they have nets on the side of the building because they're so depressed they're going to throw themselves off the factory at work. Like people that are that unhealthy and that like poorly nourished, like getting struck down by like a virus that is clearly not good for unhealthy people. It doesn't seem insane to me. Like I think the lesson we should have taken there is like, maybe we need to like worry about like public health more generally. Like make sure everyone's be like, I don't know, like there was some study that was like 96% of people who died in one study were vitamin D deficient. Like just simple things like that to help like boost public health probably would have been like one of the best responses you could have had.
Yeah, 100%. Why they've not done that? We had people in lockdown for months. Why, when they were putting out the propaganda of the COVID thing and, you know, stay at home, otherwise you'll kill an owl doll down the street. Why couldn't they say, well, while you're at home, do a push-up. Do a
push-up. One push-up per day.
Do some burpees. Maybe not eat a 10-inch pizza for breakfast. You know what I mean? Why couldn't have? Because that's fat shaming. But that should have been a part of the message too. Look, there is something you all want to protect in the effort to stop COVID by wearing your mask and keep your social distance. Good. You know what else you could do? You could try and get a wee bit healthier. Take some supplements. Try and lose some of the weight. You know, these are all things that can. And you talk about go out and clap for the NHS. Instead of clapping, some jumping jacks, you fat bastard, because you're fucking.
All right, Joe Wicks, calm down.
Right, bodies. Do a push-up and eat a banana.
Yeah, that should have been. That's why I am running for office, because that's the message that people need to hear.
And then show everybody your six-pack.
Yeah.
Some jumping jacks.
But it's fucking mental. Like, I mean, if they were really, really concerned that it was a proper pandemic and they would at least entertain these other ways of helping. They don't even talk about, in any official source, they don't even talk about the vitamin D.
Bro, they don't even want to feed the fucking children.
Yes,
you know?
Yeah.
Instead of giving everybody masks, everybody should be given a Fitbit. So then, like, let me see your steps. How many steps you done today? Are you trying to better yourself?
Oh yeah. So the powers that be can track even further. Good idea. Trying to feed the kids on 30 quid. Like, where did you get this from? M&S? There's like 4 items on this fucking.
It comes to like £6 something. So it does. I'm doing a video on it.
But are you? Oh, brilliant.
Like I think they made a U-turn on that. They're just going to give out the vouchers now. People were so outraged, which proves that's like a good thing to have hope about. It proves that like mass outrage can change the government's mind. The same thing happened on the A-levels algorithm bullshit that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like the mass outrage it does cause government U-turns on some things at least. And it kind of shows me that like public opinion still has some power to like change their mind, because I mean, I'm pretty sure they're aware that they're overseeing like a very volatile population at the minute. Like everyone's going a bit crazy. Pretty sure like without the pandemic, you would not have had or at least you wouldn't have had the same level of outrage and like mass protests and riots over the George Floyd killing, which was fucking awful. Just to like, I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I'm also fairly certain without the pandemic, you wouldn't have had the storming of the Capitol. People are just starting to lose their minds, like locked inside. Like social contact is we're literally social beings. Like we literally evolved to like exist in groups. And like you take that away, like no wonder people are going fucking crazy. And I think the UK government are probably aware that they're overseeing a powder keg that just needs the right spark.
That's what I worry about, because we're such a small island, and we don't have like the military backup as the US has. It would be so we could storm Stormont.
I was just going to say, man, Stormont, that's a big hill. We're too fat and lazy as a nation to go up that hill to even storm it.
You'd go to the gates of Stormont and go, look how far away that is.
No, fuck that.
You could get everyone on rascals, like to get like you could do shuttles up and down the hill.
And then you get up there, there's just one security man just stand there going, what do you want? There's nobody here, fuck's sake. Stay at home, will you?
Yeah, the lack of security there is amazing. Like I went up to do an interview with like an Alliance special advisor 2 years ago, and There's just basically no security. You just kind of walk in, like they scan your bag or whatever. But like you could totally. Like, there's like two guys like sitting having a cup of tea,
Yeah.
and like they're big fat security guards. Like one of them's outside having a cigarette, and like
Fuck's sake.
it's
Walk
not-
up, I'm storming storm out. You'd be like, go on ahead, work away, mate. Good luck.
Yeah, well, they're all bastards anyway. Like,
Arlene's in there doing her one push-up, eating a banana.
And you can imagine that, the way she's eating it too. Doing them push-ups, baby.
oh,
Yeah, it's as secure as the DC Capitol, is it?
yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah. Well, if you've not seen what's going on right now, like they built that like 8-foot like unscalable fence with barbed wire, and now they're taking the fence down and building a 12-foot wall like around the Capitol.
Oh, I see. So walls are a good thing now, are they?
Yeah.
Very good, guys. Hypocrisy. Yes. I mean, I've been hearing this on the conspiracy side of things. Everyone seems to be concerned about this 20,000 armed troops that are now sitting having the wee. You know those images that came out about those troops lying in the Capitol building. Why would they not give them beds? Why are these guys having to lie on marble floor? That is so unfair. Like they're gonna have fucking arthritis trying to shoot all these right wingers. You know their backs. They're going to pull their backs, trying to pull their weapons.
Even in friggin' the Middle East, they had beds. Like, come on.
I know. That just shows you how bad they are at giving out things to the people. They can't even give them $600 for starving to death in their bed in their homes, and now they can't even give their soldiers a mattress to lie on.
I mean, I think like if I was American, I would just be insulted as fuck right now. Like they can vote on impeachment in like a day and a half, and you can't give them the fucking checks because you can't agree. Like fuck you. Like,
and that should have been a unifying moment for all political sides. They should have been like, hold on, like we're out here slapping each other's cheeks because one's left, one's right, one's BLM, one's Antifa, one's Pride, but whatever. We should all fucking go arm in arm, going up to the Capitol here and say, hey, we're down out here, mate, and you're giving us $600 and you're sending millions over to the Middle East for gender studies. What's going on? Like,
I mean, that bill was mad. There's like a clause in it. Did you see? It's like that the intelligence agencies have 180 days from it's being signed to declassify everything they know about aliens.
I did. I know it's. What do you think is going? It's going to be a letdown, isn't it? It's going to be like,
oh man, no, it is. There is no way this is a letdown, right?
I hope not.
Absolutely no way. Like there is way too much shit that we now know. Like just based on like a couple of declassified things and a couple of people like discussing, like Commander David Fravor, even his story is like holy shit. Like.
I want to get on board, but I feel like it's going to be like the Phantom Menace, a lot of hype and it's shit. You know what I mean? I'll be happy to be wrong, and it comes out and it's like, yeah, the aliens have been sitting watching this on their 20-inch televisions on their ships for decades now, and now we can join forces. And
well, sure, the New York Times said that they had information that said that the Pentagon had a crashed, recovered off-world vehicle. And like Jacques Vallée, who's like I can't remember what his official profession is. I think he's a hedge fund manager or something like that. And he was saying that he's like trying to lobby the US government to release all the materials they have that they've discovered from stuff that's crashed in order to allow private industry to like analyze it, because they have far more capacity than just like isolated compartmentalized like secret parts of the military. So like there's loads of shit that could totally come out here. I'm excited.
What if the aliens are not? What if the aliens are like the ideology of the far left right now? Not, you know what I mean? We're hoping that they're going to be the saviors and world peace is going to come along, but it turns out they come down and they're BLM aliens, you know what I mean? We're really fucked then.
And they got all their rainbow flags on the side of the UFOs or what?
Yeah, all wearing tutus and all. All got purple hair.
Oh, what was it? The former head of the Israeli intelligence agency said that the aliens are waiting off planet for us to have a world government before they will welcome us into the intergalactic like council or whatever. Like
And then you get Joe Biden. I mean, I don't know if we're going in the right direction here at all. Like,
No. Yeah. I mean, he's so old. That's the scariest thing. He's like, come on, give us like. I mean, Kamala's going to be president in about a year, I reckon.
Yeah. I think, but definitely before the term ends. But then he's so
yeah.
old, he should be at home fucking hibernating. It's COVID time.
Nursing home, fuck's sake.
Well, that's what he did. That's what he did the whole summer, and he still managed to win. There was no campaigns. Also, I really don't understand how if COVID is so infectious, why like most of the Trump supporters didn't die at all the rallies.
yeah.
Like, and also all the left were complaining. Like, surely they should be like, yeah, no, go on, go get infected, please. Like,
Yeah. No, they just ran out the headlines, the super spreaders, and these are the bad guys. Yep, we're gonna protest for 6 months and then have parties when Biden wins. That's
Biden
so
still
nuts.
doesn't know he's running for president. That to remind him every day. They're all, Biden, are you ready? And he's sitting there eating his porridge, dripping off his cheeks, going, what? What?
Why are you trying to feed your asshole porridge? That's the only good positive thing about the Biden one. I hope he does live a wee bit longer than that's being predicted, because I love watching his speeches, because you're guaranteed at least one gaff through it where he blunders his words, or he's completely like the one where he said he introduced himself as Joe Biden's husband. I love it. I'm Joe Biden's husband.
He definitely wears an nappy.
Yeah. Oh fucking hell.
I mean, like, I still don't understand how the fuck he managed to win. Like just the primary, not even the election, the primary. Like, how the fuck did he win that primary?
Well, and that's completely the DNC manipulating things. And I really thought Tulsi was going to go through with it. I thought she was my favorite out of the whole lot of them. But I seen something there today about that Trump's votes went up. Was it 10 or 14 million or something? I can't remember. It was, and Obama's was down 7 million in his second term. And how the fuck did Biden win over them? Like, how did he get more votes than it just, even mathematically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. Like that's what I keep saying to Americans and anyone I'm talking to is like 75 million people voted for it. That's got to be something. Stop
Exactly.
calling them like CNN. We're calling them, like what was he said? They're all the people that voted for Trump now in their eyes are Klan members and terrorists. Yeah. Like 75 million people is like, yeah, way to stop the Civil War, guys.
How do you feel about the DC situation? Do you think like people are claiming that it was a false flag, that there was actors involved in antagonizing it and pushing it to that way, because that would have been like the last great, because it seemed to be like, at least in the legal way of things, the ball was tipping towards Trump up until that point, and there might have been, I mean, it was going to be a 1 in a billion chance, but it seemed to be going in his favor a wee bit, with what's happening in Georgia. And then with this is kind of like, it's so convenient that storming happened, because it throws all that out the window. Now everyone that was going to object just went, nope, fuck it, we're not objecting anymore, we're voting Biden. So I mean, the false flag thing makes sense.
I don't know if it was like a false flag as such, in terms of like it was all like Antifa people or whatever. Like there was that one guy who was a BLM activist who was arrested, who was inside the Capitol. But I think that's the only one that they've shown to be like a left-wing activist who was inside, that they've arrested, at least anyway. Although he has been now released without bail.
Oh, this could be nice.
Yeah. But for me, it looks like they just kind of let them in. Like,
yeah, that's
it wasn't so much a storm; it was more like a wee dander.
They're sort of like they're all just walking through the middle of, like, did you see that picture that the velvet ropes, and they're sort of just like ambling, just ambling with their flags and whatnot, and like the fucking idiots with the Confederate flag. Sometimes I just want to slap them and be like, stop ruining your point. Like,
I know. I feel like that. As far as I know, that some of that building is open to the public anyway, so maybe that part.
Yeah, but it was shut down. I don't think it's been open to the public for a while.
Right.
Due to COVID, as far as I was aware, because there was people complaining that Republicans had given tours to some people the day before the riots. So I don't know how to feel about it, because I mean I'm happy that the US government got the wind put up them, that they realized they're this close to people like flipping out and overthrowing them. Yeah. Hopefully they're a bit terrified now. But I mean, that's just the problem with like any kind of violent protest or any protest that ends up like that, like whether it's the Capitol or whether it's like some of the stuff that happened in the summer with the BLM riots, like violent protest in the 21st century does not prevent tyranny, it creates it. And like the only thing that works, I think, unfortunately, is like mass civil disobedience. That's the only thing that I really believe might work. Like in the UK or here, the only thing that will stop the lockdowns is like a general strike or mass civil disobedience. Like as soon as you go violent, it's just bringing on more tyranny.
Yeah, if everyone just tried to go back to the normal lives, open their businesses all at the same day, there's no way they couldn't walk it back. They couldn't force everyone into jail. They say we have to obey the public. And I think in the American case, like Trump is gone. Well, in QAnon circles, I think there's still a chance that there's something going to happen. But let's just take the conspiracy side out of it. He's gone, and they think like because they cut the head of the snake, that's it over. What he opened everyone up to was that everyone's seen how corrupt these politicians left and right are, and that's widespread in America. And I think what they're deeming now, the Trumpism, is just going to grow further and further. And I think you're right that the public pressure is going to change things, and that's how real change is going to happen. It's not going to come from Trump kicking the door down with his military behind him and says we're taking over this shit. It's not going to work that way. It's going to see more people being, and I hate using it, woken up.
Yeah, they get red pilled. But like the thing that gives me a little hope as well is that there's this weird alliance starting to form of people of people like Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson in the same sphere, and you're just going like, what is going on there? Like these people are like ideologically so far apart, but they're suddenly like allied. Like the Julian Assange thing seems to have like brought together like groups of people that don't agree on basically anything. And like Jimmy Dore has been like thrust into the spotlight. Like I don't know if you've been watching. Like he's been putting a lot of pressure on AOC, who I am so disappointed with. I used to think she was legit.
Did you? I was never on board with her. I always, there was something about her. I smelled through her bullshit from day one. I was like, there's something disingenuous about this girl. I know as every politician is basically an actor, but I was like, no, she's real. She is just she's going for the likes on social media. There's something off about her, like, and she's been proven to be a complete fucking shill from on and on, and especially the recent behavior.
The force to vote stuff is just insane. Like they've been trying to, for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, like the AOC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez basically was saying the entire time, like while she was in the run up to the election for Congress here, she was basically saying like we need to force a vote on Medicare for all. And she was encouraging people to like put pressure on their representatives to force votes on Medicare for all. And then people called for her to withhold the vote, her vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House in exchange for a vote on the floor for Medicare for all. That doesn't mean it's going to pass. It just means they're going to have a vote. And she wouldn't even do that. And like then she started lashing out at all these like left-wing activists after like supporting every action they can possibly do. Like she's totally sweet with people lighting cars on fire or setting up autonomous zones in downtown Portland, but she's not okay with people asking her to vote for a policy that she has forever campaigned in favor of.
Complete hypocrite.
Yeah.
It's almost like an abusive relationship, you know. She's just she's strung all these people along and then she keeps letting them down, but now goes on to do a fucking Instagram video where she's going crazy with her eyes and giving off about Donald Trump being a Nazi, and then people get back on board. Yes, she's going to save us. She's the progressive that we need, and then she proves again that she's not. She's a career politician like the rest.
Yeah, there's the only one I actually believe in is Bernie. That's the only guy that I think is genuine. In
really, I have to disagree, only because I was a Bernie, like I live in Lurgan, Northern Ireland, but out of them all, I was like Bernie's the man. But the first time round, whenever he stepped down and supported Hillary, and then the second time round he stepped back and supported Biden, I'm like, no, he's accepted whatever fucking envelope they've handed him, and he's joined forces with these evil cunts.
I mean, he got more changes to Hillary Clinton's platform than has ever been achieved by anyone ever. Like he got so many changes to her platform. She didn't go on to win. And the thing with the Joe Biden one is like, for me, he stopped campaigning because he wanted to take his time to like help like people who were being like badly affected by the pandemic. He just said, no, now is not the time for me to be adversarial. Like we need something to unite behind, and I cannot in good conscience continue to push like a race where when we need to focus on like helping America deal with the pandemic. And honestly, that's the kind of selflessness that you need in a leader. Like it wasn't about him. He didn't say, I need to be president, or I need to be the nomination. He was like, no, I would rather spend my time like educating and raising money for people who are being badly affected by the pandemic and the lockdowns. And for me, that's just like, wow, that takes serious principles. Like just to say, like, for all of the time and like effort that he has spent like campaigning to be president, and then just to like throw your hands up, and when you believe that people need something else more than you, and to go, no, okay, no problem, I'm gonna step back here. For me, that required a serious amount of principle. And also, if he just went fuck you in 2016, he wouldn't have the chance to run in 2020. And I feel like he's unfortunately trying to walk a line between challenging the system and remaining in it to do something. So that's kind of why I'm still a Bernie fan.
Yeah. No, I just wish he had more balls to stand up against them.
But I mean, he stands up and says shit that no one else does. Like he stands up and he's like, the corporations that are funding the establishment in this country are fucking you. Like and like he stands up and says it, and no one else does. Not in the way he does. Like he really challenges like corporate power in America in a way that no one else has the guts to. So I mean, you kind of got to hold on to some beacons of hope, as we were discussing.
That's a good way to end it. What hope?
Yes.
What hope do we have in the future? Should we start an uprising through the network of podcasting, and us nerdy people with
yes,
with zero muscle mass go and fight the establishment?
Yeah, like we can all turn up with the big headphones, and that's how we'll identify each other.
Yeah. Can't Tifa. It sounded better in my head before I said it out loud.
Antifa. Oh my god, that's amazing.
That's another the bar in Star Wars.
That'll be our theme song when we're storming the castle.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, that feels like a good place to finish things. So thanks very much, guys. It's been a fucking pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun, Josh.
It's been great having you on, man.
Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.